Hey gang, it's Mike from PowerBI.Tips. I just got back from the Microsoft Business Application Summit, and myself and Seth did a presentation around data visualization best practices for the MBAS conference. So one of the things that we did at the end of this talk was talk through one of the demos that we used. We're using a custom chart building program. So the video didn't show very clearly what was going on and what we were building, so I wanted to give a quick demo of the visualization that we made, the custom visual, and then just quickly show you how we built it. So I go over here to the demo page. This is the visual that we're building. It has a list of states in the middle here, and it has drug incidents and traffic incidents in both blue and purple. And then it's a custom visual that is built outside of Power BI, but allows you to see the distribution of data in these number lines, and then see a bar chart aligning to each of the state's data. So if we select different states here, like West or the South region within the United States, we can automatically see that the states update, and then the bars also update as well, and then you can see the new distribution of data. We've been able to put some other additional elements on here like transparencies. So some of these data points are transparent and you can see where they're overlapping to show you kind of depth of color and see where concentrations of data points live. So let's build this visual, and we will go build this visual at charts.powerbi.tips.
All right, here's the website, charts.powerbi.tips. This is a website that has the tool. This is the visualization building program. This is the charts piece. There's also a link here at the top called Charts Gallery. If you click on the Charts Gallery, these are a number of other visuals that have been built in this program and have been shared through the community. So people who build things here, we can then go through and share these visuals on the gallery, so you can play with other people's visuals and figure out what they've done and use them as well. So feel free to go here. Another gentleman that we get this chart from that we're going to do today, his name is Nick Snap, and here's a number of visuals that he's built, a number of bar charts and some interesting other elements here as well. You can go download them and use them in your reports free of charge. All right, going back over to the website, this is the tool. I'm not going to go in detail very much how to use the tool. Instead, I'm going to focus pretty much on the demo that we did at the Microsoft Business Application Summit. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to replace my data set. I'm going to click this little icon up here, replace data with CSV file. I can go grab a CSV file and then add it to this data set. It now gives me the new column headers that I can see. And then if I click the ellipsis here, I can then see the different data that is in each of the columns as well. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up the canvas area. Go to the top here, get rid of this title, delete that. We're going to go to the plot segment. We're going to click the eraser for this and get rid of that. Next, I'm going to set up some boundaries on my chart so that all my graphics look good and it aligns things the way I want. First thing I want to do is I'm going to add some marks. So I'm going to grab a mark, start at the upper left-hand corner here, and notice how the lines are orange when I get close to them. That means I'm snapping the edges of the mark directly to these lines. If I stop my mark before I get to the corner here, you'll notice that this one circle dot here next to my cursor is actually white. That means it hasn't been bound to a guide on the page. Typically, you do not want to do that when you're designing charts here. You always want to make sure all the corners are green, meaning that the data element has been bound to some sort of guide on the page. Let's build two more marks here down the middle of the page to center things in the middle. Mark on the left side, one more mark on the right side. Okay, now that we have all the marks on the page, we can then adjust the heights of them. So this one, we're going to adjust the height of this to be 60. The bottom height of this other mark will also be 60. And then we can also adjust these other bars in the middle here. The width of this will be 50. And then this width of this other bar will also be 50 as well. Okay, now the reason I build these marks in these on the main page here is because I want to be able to adjust the screen size. If I adjust this, the marks will automatically grow and shrink based on what's presented in the guides. So the guides really do adjust your page. So if I drag this guide up higher and this one down lower, all of the items or the elements on the page will closely align to where those guides are. The guides lock your visual in. All right, let's build some visual elements here. We have the first glyph here on the left-hand side. We're going to grab a line plot segment, and we're going to start at the bottom. When using line plot segments, the direction does matter. So we're going to go there, and we're going to grab this column called drugs and add it to this axis. You can see that the data goes from 5 to 60. We're going to edit this, change it from 5. We're going to actually change it to 0 to 60. And then we're going to flip the position of this. So instead of being in the middle of the visual, we're going to flip it to the opposite side. Next, we're going to add a mark to this area. Adding a mark here in the middle. and I'm going to adjust this to only be on the right hand side of the visual, and then we're going to adjust the glyph to only have a height of 7. Those will make little indicator bars across the line there. Now we want to probably name this so it makes sense, so I'm going to click on the plot segment again, and this is the drugs on the left side of the screen. So let's say drugs left, and then let's change the shape to have some color. So click on the fill, and we'll make it a blue, and then we'll change the opacity to 50%, 0.5. The reason I like the opacity here is because it actually shows you density of points in a area here. So if I didn't have the opacity turned down, I can't see that this darker color here is actually creating a density of points in that vicinity. All right, we have our left item in the bar chart made. Let's go ahead and add another plot segment. So this time we're going to grab another glyph, and then we'll grab another line plot segment. This time we'll start from the top and go to the bottom. Let's add the state to this line because we're going to add states in the middle here. And we will not want to show the values here, but we want it to go from Alabama to Wyoming. That's important to note. So here we're going to actually rename this one as well. We'll call this drugs in the middle. And then we're going to turn off the visibility of the axis, but we will add a mark to the page. So let's add a mark to the page here, and we're going to adjust this mark slightly. Again, change the height of this back to 7, because we want the little bars. And the next we'll then add the height. So this time we'll add the height of the bar to the drugs column. That will auto adjust the column here for the height. If we click on the shape here, we can see what data has been bound to the width. So if we click on this bind data button, we can see that it starts at 0 and goes to 60. That's what we want. We'll leave that alone and come back out here, highlight the shape, change the color to our blue again. So now we have this nice dark blue. Okay, now we need to make the links between the left data side and the middle in the chart there. So now we're going to go grab the links area, and we see we have the left side of the drugs and the drugs in the middle. We're going to create a band between them, create the links, and now it creates colored bars between them. Changes from line to bezier, and curviness up to 160. Now I'm going to adjust the page here so it doesn't look so scrunched. There we go. Now we're getting nice curvy bars between the two areas. Great. All right, let's keep going. Let's add some text in the middle here. To do that, we're going to add another glyph, start another line segment, and we're going to start at the very top and go down to the bottom here. We'll add the state to this axis as well. Now, we don't want to show the axis, we want to just have the text there. So we're actually going to grab a text box, click text, and we're going to add him directly in the middle of our glyph. Rearrange the text box by grabbing it and dragging it directly to the center, and grab state and put it on top of the text box. We're going to rename this plot segment and just call it text, because this is the text for the states, and then turn the visibility to off. Highlighting the text item, we're then going to turn down the size of it to about 10. Now we have all of our states listed here. Great, the text has been added. Let's add a fourth glyph, and we'll again do the plot segment. Again, always going from the top to the bottom in these three sections in the middle, because we want all those areas to align appropriately. We'll add the state to this axis. We'll add another mark here, go from the middle to the right side here, and then we're going to adjust the height of this one again to 7, and then again change the color of it. So we're going to change the shape, we're going to change the color to now a purple, and then we're going to change our opacity to 0.5. Actually, just one kidding, we're not going to change the opacity, we're going to leave this one alone. Instead, we will grab the traffic column and add it to the width here. There we go. Now we can see these numbers are much higher, but I do know for a fact that this is actually changing here. So if we click on the bind data for this one, the data elements for the traffic information only go from 0 to 24, which it auto scales automatically in what's going on here. So we technically don't want this. We actually want to have the same scale as the other left-hand side. So if we change it to 60, now the scales of both bars on both sides of the chart are identical. Next, we can go back to the plot segment 1. Let's rename this one, call this traffic middle, and we'll turn off the position so it's not visible. And now we have Alaska all the way down to Wyoming for all the next traffic information. Finally, we'll add our next glyph and final glyph. And again, another plot segment, and we'll go from the bottom to the top. So we want our low number at the bottom and our high number at the top. This time we'll add traffic to this new axis. And we'll adjust this one to go from 0 to 60 again. And it looks like my naming didn't take before, so let's try this. Traffic, right side. Here we go. And my other plot segment did not rename, so let's rename that one as well. So this will be traffic middle. There we go. All right. So now that we have our axis there, we can now draw out our mark. Take our mark here, and we'll draw out a mark here on the right-hand side like this. And then we'll adjust the height of this again back down to glyph of a height of 7. Change the color again back to our purple. And then we'll change the opacity of this one to 0.5. So this will then give us our nice opacity. All right, so the number scales match. We have the number line here that looks correct. We can make our links between the two. Clicking link, we can then hit shift, middle and right, click the band, create the link, change it from line to bezier, and now we can go up to 160. So now we have this nice wavy line here as well. This looks like our chart. We can now turn off the gray areas. So go here to the top of our list, turn off these marks area, and so you have a nice clean white chart. So this is our chart. We're basically done. You can hit save and it'll save a local copy on your machine, and you can also export it and click the Power BI visual up here, and this will let you export this visual. A thing to note here is that you have the ability to have different axes on everything. So this is the drugs on the left axis, and this is the traffic on the right. Because we want these to not auto scale, we want them to go from 0 to 60 on both sides, we're actually going to turn this off. Everything else we can leave alone and click Export to Power BI Visual. It'll then download the visual directly to your computer. So now that I have it on my machine, I can then go add it to Power BI Desktop. So I'm going to minimize the browser, zoom back over to Power BI Desktop. Here we are back in Power BI Desktop. We can then click the ellipsis, import from file, grab our new custom visual, so my visual that was just downloaded, hit open. It'll then import it directly to the Power BI Desktop, click it, and it will now open up. So here's my custom visual now I can put on my page, and now I can grab the state, add it to my granularity. This is the lowest level detail that my report will show in this visual. If you had multiple levels for states, if you had multiple values, you could actually have multiple states, so it actually would auto aggregate everything for you. So here's our chart, everything listed here. We can adjust it, move around the page, and the neat part about this is this really acts like a normal visual on the page. You basically can interact with it like anything else. You can click on items on the list, and then data points will update on the side. You can then also click on different areas here, Midwest, Northwest region, and then it'll also update values here as well. So as I select things, it'll automatically update values as we see them. The last thing we can do here is we can also sort things differently. So if we want to sort by the state name and then sort it in ascending order, it'll go from A to W, and then all of our data lives here. So cool. I hope you like this visual and this tutorial. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to Power BI Tips for more great tips and tricks.